Yando beta bakata iya ibonga wa bakundu jaswara umekimasu Meki masuro selwaka iyo omiso Maboka imasuro selwaka iyo omiso Omeki masuro selwaka iyo omiso Nabana ondaboro selwaka iyo omiso Chief Mokete Joseph Nebale Ebolimbao Imameki masuro selwaka iyo omiso Maboka imasuro selwaka iyo omiso Omameki masuro selwaka iyo omiso Nabana ondaboro selwaka iyo omiso Chief Honorable Motasembo David Bana bapangani Jasowara Ekondo jasowara Imameki masuro selwaka iyo omiso Nabana ondaboro selwaka iyo omiso Jasowara Ekondo jasowara Imameki masuro selwaka iyo omiso Nabana ondaboro selwaka iyo omiso Tata Kalo Aidi Panyangi ontiko Bana bameme ontiko Batata na baiya ontiko Nabana ontiko Ekondo beyamba Ekondo beyamba Jasowara Jasowara Pastor Elagwe Esoe Nota jekeli kanyangi ontiko Bana bameme ontiko Batata na baiya ontiko Nabana ontiko Ekondo beyamba Ekondo beyamba Jasowara Jasowara Tata Nkimani Obase Mboke nanga yo Imameki masue Omeki masue Imameki masue Imameki masue Omeki masue Selwaka iyo omiso Nabana ondaboro selwaka iyo omiso Imameki masue Omeki masue Imameki masue Ebeno omeki masue Omeki masue selwaka iyo omiso Nabana ondaboro selwaka iyo omiso One, two, allez, three, four. Maître Mokete King Solomon. Fire! Give money, don't money. Give money, don't money. Give money, give money, don't money. Give money, give money, don't money. Ayok Nyanga International, Ira Bagari, Among, Edok, Yete.
Masori Mega, Johnson Kina Vota, Masori Mega, Johnson Kina, Masori Mega, Johnson Kina Voma, Masori Mega, Johnson Kina, Masori Mega, Johnson Kina Vota, Masori Mega, Johnson Kina, Masori Mega, Johnson Kina Voma, Masori Mega, Johnson Kina, Ekatikero, Johnson Kina Vota, Toto Mankam, Johnson Kina, Ekatikero, Johnson Kina Voma, Toto Mankam, Johnson Kina,
Arresta Michel Okole Sakwe.
Votane Voma, Mega Ibri, Mandama Gonya Am Sari, Kamupio Atonengiri, Atone Bente, Atone Mpa, Awotem Sibawom Bankam, Sarah Rebel Bonyo, Volampe Romokat, Sarah Rebel Bonyo, Votane Voma, Johnson Kina, Mega Ibri. Oh no! Aha! Le président Tingama Vingue, Mouerentova Yokyanga International.
Arresta Piochet.
Oh no!
President Iya Dr. Clementine Ebenye Nanje. Oka United States of America. Iya Oka Isananga Iyo. Give money. Don't money. baraka.
Atita. Atita.
Hey!
What
nyin eye chura chura baba ekuni sekendi nani bagini jingo anamani nembe ni widama kinesigo kweyi titunyre ekuni sega bega wao elam makuma piti kwimbe ya kata ekuni sega bega wanembe ni jingo aya wuchuchu baba kweyi titunyre aya kata wao baba kinesigo kweyi titunyre aya wuchuchu baba kweyi titunyre aya kata wao baba kinesigo kweyi titunyre aya bekanga we etunyre inebire mukwimbe ni jingo Obienda nimbene ekwani juma kinesigo kweyi titunyre Makuma piti kwimbe ya kata ekuni sigana dada nembe ni jingo aya wuchuchu baba kweyi titunyre aya kata wao baba kinesigo kweyi titunyre aya wuchuchu baba kweyi titunyre aya kata wao baba kinesigo kweyi titunyre anamane maitwane tipine anibane isere ya tata ikana tata anamane maitwane tipine tona bon kazage tre tona bon kazage tre tona bon kan moyen yabandere isere na ye isere na yengo isere na ye isere na yengo enuki Longue Sop Aje Winike Bato baye Hey Go Cameroon tona bon kazage tre tona bon kan moyen yabandere isere na ye isere na yengo isere na ye isere na yengo isere na ye isere na yengo
Mapembe java sese na bahia Joe kendene keise uliongoi President Oroko Cultural Association Tatamba mene Nanje Wasumana batuba oroko pembe ikendene keise uriongo ei nani ileli ituka iyo meki masuma oroko ituka iyo meki masuma oroko maroki damasenje ya medo waro salwi besukuru besibe nina imaroke niye iya Winifred mende nanje ituka iyo meki masuma oroko ituka iyo meki masuma oroko maroki damasenje ya medo waniro salwi besukuru besibe nina imaroke niye nina besukuru beloko omboka iyasu baleri base ndiye ya meto ise etenika jabakara omaumi yango mesa kanwa baka ombo ituka ya barusu mamani omamboki basu batata na babakia gimano base oroko baroko uruta gimano base oroko baroko uruta tokwani banaba uroko tokwani bato ba uroko na mwenyoe gimano base oroko baroko uruta gimano base oroko baroko uruta tokwani banaba uroko tokwani bato ba uroko na mwenyoe iya nango da Margaret kisoranga to wakora mama kopa eko sanija oroko South Korea tebele mo akominjia ona rap Osri Joshua Nabangi tata bere oroko baroko South Korea babeli o Germany baroko o Canada menyo masuwe o mongoe oroko baroko UK babeli o Belgium baroko o Sweden menyo masuwe o mongoe oroko South Africa Denmark Finland Japan Britain na Thailand tokwaniye gomeroko nina rasa sakelo lui batoko na mwenyoe nina rasa sakelo lui na soja
Bebeja bali ya royani ekende nekeise Bebeja basese royani ekende nekeise
Sango elangwe Peter Nanje Naliomu Motwa mulima musangi nina rasa sakelo lui na bambenda na mwenyoe nina rasa sakelo lui balelie
Bebeja bali ya royani ekende nekeise Bebeja basese royani ekende nekeise
Omboka ya oroko Bahutu basalwi baleri bangoromenti Etoni kanya bakalanya le kwa nangweli ese Marongi na bebongo bali sumambia ese Berongi sane bali kwa nangweli ise Na ituka ingi yosusu Nekoba oroko bako bori alitopia mafikise Ombo pembeja Bapapa na mama Angida ja opase Ai Menyo imasue Ai Menyo imasue Ngomo na kuleke kumbaka
Iya ikenga Ngomo na kuleke kumbaka Iya ikenga
Musiki nga kuleke konoko
Iya ikenga Musiki nga kuleke konoko Iya ikenga
Mesaki nga kuleke sakaka
Iya ikenga Mesaki nga kuleke sakaka Iya ikenga
Gweli no kuleke ikwaka
Iya ikenga Gweli no kuleke ikwaka Iya ikenga
Koli no kuleke tundaka
Iya ikenga Koli no kuleke tundaka Iya ikenga
Eyanganga kuleke liaka
Iya ikenga Eyanganga kuleke liaka Iya ikenga
Nina ekosani jaba oroko Eloko wa Amerika Na omboka yosusu ya bakara Nero boreli niye Ombo pembe jaba papa na mama Anginya ja obase Nanje music production na tokole mapinge Nanje music production na tokole mapinge Tokwani nusaki banaba oroko Tokwani nusaki musiki mambuka Nanje music production na tokole mapinge Nande music production na tokore mapige. Dokwa ni nyota ki bana ba uroko Dokwa ni nyota ki musiki mambuka Nande music production na tokore mapige. Nande music production na tokore mapige. Dokwa ni nyota ki bana ba uroko Dokwa ni nyota ki musiki mambuka Bale mbajo kuba musiki mambuka bale muna bale muna Domo bituri Wamojote mawake Hato kwesa kendomo Eba Domo bituri Eya sumele Sekakani Eba Odikome balue Obekora barombi Olipeja bachanga Nayo Motakadere Sekelitaka liko minjea Sekelitaka liko minjea Ima sekelitaka liko minjea Sekelitaka liko minjea Ima sekelitaka liko minjea Ima sekelitaka liko minjea Sekelitaka liko minjea Ima sekelitaka liko minjea Sekelitaka liko minjea Ima sekelitaka liko minjea
We are no fools on the hill. My people are no fools on the hill. You must let my people go, so we can rule from Cape to Cairo. You must free my people's hands, so we can rule our purpose land. I wanna know who owns the land. Who wanna know who owns the land? Okay, now listen carefully. Chinese are ruling the Chinese land. Japan is ruled by Japanese. England is governed by Englishmen. America is governed by Americans. So Africa must be ruled by Africans. I wanna know who owns the land. We must rule from Cape to Cairo. is creation. What I don't know. Since the time of sun and sun, since the time of moon and stars, since the time of air and sea, since the time of men and things, we must run from earth to guide. Oh, I stand look through my purpose land. Purpose land. Oh, okay now I want to talk to my now we are the crossroads. On the Femo, Dublin. I'm not Femo, Dublin. Oh, Palimu, Maya, Baba. Yeah, oh, Palimu, just to Yaraka. Oh, Palimu, Tizania,
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the broadcast today and to ABC Amber Television. It is always a privilege to come to you every day with updates, revolutionary updates to the struggle. Give me a moment here, ladies and gentlemen. Let me shut down this thing here. Again, it's always a privilege to come to you with updates on the struggle, the Ambazonian struggle, and I want to welcome all of you joining in from ground zero if you have electricity in your community, because I know every time they know we are coming on, they shut down electricity in the northern zone and in the southern zone, and most especially in the populated areas of Bamenda, Kumba, Boya, Victoria, and all those places. But thank God for those of you who are fortunate today to have electricity. Somebody just called me from Bamenda and said they just turn on electricity. Again, thanks for joining, and I can't forget those of you out there in Nigeria, in Ghana, everywhere, in Gabon, everywhere, and Ambazonian refugees find themselves. Thank you for joining. And also the thousands of you out there in Mexico. It's a pleasure to know you are watching, and you are watching ABC Amber Television live. This is going to be one of those very, very exciting presentation, very, very exciting discussion. And I have a wonderful panel here that shall be discussing the issue at stake, which you all know about. So please, as usual, I will expect you to go ahead and hit that share button immediately, so that those who have not yet joined should join. I want to apologize for the late show. This show was supposed to come up at 7 p.m. Amber time, but for technical reasons, we just couldn't make it on time. But whatever the case, I am here. I am not live. I am alive, ladies and gentlemen. Don't touch your remote. I will be right back. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Again, it's a privilege to be with you today. It is a wonderful day, a gracious day to be alive and to bring you updates on this revolution. We continue to find exciting developments every day in this struggle, especially from La République du Cameroon. You will not believe that coming live to you a minute ago, I received a press release signed by the communication minister of La République du Cameroon, to the effect that the meeting allegedly taking place in Yaounde, or took place in Yaounde on July the 2nd, did not take place. They said no, the meeting did not take place. That is from their minister of communications. They call him René Sadi. So, ladies and gentlemen, we don't know who to believe here right now. We don't know whether to believe the detainees who say they had a 7 hours meeting with French Cameroon administrators, or whether we should believe René Sadi, the Minister of Communications, who is now saying, no, what we are hearing is far from reality. Those are his words, far from reality. That means it didn't happen. It didn't happen. I will find time to read that statement to you. But please go ahead, hit your share button. 700 people in the next 2 minutes. We're almost 700 already. Almost 700 already. But I have an exciting panel to bring to you today to discuss the events that we all are acquainted with. So please, let's do that as soon as possible. I will bring you a monologue. My talking point, and after the talking point, I will bring you the guests to make some sense out of these events coming from Yaounde. So please go ahead, hit your share button, and while you do so, let me see who is joining here. If need be, at the end of the broadcast, I will be able to take some calls. Most especially, I like to hear from Ground Zero what you think about the developments coming from Yaounde. I know there's quite a lot of bitterness out there at what is happening in La République du Cameroon. But ladies and gentlemen, we have seen this before. La République is very much used to doing this, and we know exactly why they are doing this. But we'd like to know what those of you who are on Ground Zero are thinking. I got lots and lots of calls on Thursday and Friday, and people said to me, Secretary Chris, what are you people saying? What is the interim government saying? And I just had to put out an audio to satisfy some people who were going gaga, as if heaven was going to join hell. No, that is not the case. So please, ladies and gentlemen, again, thanks for tuning in. We have hit the 700 mark and above, and so I have no reason to delay this presentation. However, as I bring you my monologue, my talking point, I would like you to go ahead, continue to hit your share button, so that those who are not aware I am live may join the broadcast. This is very, very important, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Good evening, fellow Ambazonians. On Thursday, July 2nd, La République du Cameroon summoned some of our comrades, some serving life sentences in the central and principal prisons of Kondenge, to the premises of the Catholic Archbishop of Yaounde for what has been described to the interim government as consultations or pre-talks to a possible negotiated settlement to the conflict pairing La République du Cameroon and our country, the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. This is what we have learned about the meeting that took place in Yaounde on July 2nd, Thursday, July 2nd. We are told that it was a closed-door meeting and went on for about 7 hours, interjected with short breaks. We have been told who was at the meeting on the side of the detainees. We are not, however, quite clear or quite aware of who was there representing or speaking on behalf of the Republic of Cameroon. Only the name of one person has been disclosed to us, and that is La République du Cameroon Director of Intelligence, Maxime Eko. There were others, mostly military and police senior officers. Allegations that certain diplomats, including a United Nations representative and the French ambassador to La République du Cameroon, were at the meeting cannot be confirmed. What we can confirm for sure is that the American ambassador, contrary to some reports, wasn't there. We have been made to understand that the detainees, in what they considered to be preconditions for a legitimate negotiated settlement, articulated 4 conditions which the Cameroon government must consent to or consent with before full negotiations can begin. The conditions include, number 1, the unconditional release of all Ambazonia prisoners and detainees. Number 2, amnesty to all Ambazonians in the diaspora who may want to visit home. Number 3, a ceasefire that sees the warring factions laying down arms. And of course, number 4, a commitment from French Cameroon to dialogue. If all the above are fulfilled. Fellow Ambazonians, take note that the interim government isn't at all opposed to the stated conditions. What the interim government opposes, and very vehemently so, are the circumstances under which the extractions or promises were made by the detainees. And this is exactly what we find wrong, very, very wrong with the promises. Number 1, the detainees, by virtue of their incarceration, are not in the authority and position to make any promises to La République du Cameroon which are not limited to the question of their freedom. When it comes to discussing a settlement to the conflict between La République du Cameroon and Ambazonia, the detainees do not have the mandate from Ambazonia. Number 2, the meeting and the promises were misguided because detainees, no matter their titles, do not have the power to call for or even suggest a ceasefire to the conflict, because as we all know, they don't pay the fighters and they don't have control over what the fighters do. The restoration forces do not listen to them either. Number 3, French Cameroon has never been known to respect agreements. They have never enforced the Banjul ruling, for example. Why does anyone think for a moment they will respect propositions reached behind doors with people they consider prisoners? How is that possible? The secret meeting with the detainees, we must not forget, came about in the backdrop of international calls for a global ceasefire to the conflict, to make way for a proper handling of the rapidly spreading COVID-19 pandemic in Cameroon and in Ambazonia. 170 member countries of the United Nations signed the petition. But guess which United Nations member country didn't sign the ceasefire appeal? La République du Cameroon, of course. If La République du Cameroon will not as much as save face by endorsing a United Nations declared ceasefire, what is the guarantee that they will respect anything they agree with detainees behind doors? La République has no good faith in what she is attempting to negotiate with our detainees. The point is that there is no guarantor to whatsoever that we agree to with the detainees. It is under this premise that the interim government rejects in its totality every single promise made before La République du Cameroon authorities by the detainees. Let this be made very, very clear. These detainees, former leaders of this struggle, do no longer represent the overwhelming majority opinion of Ambazonia, and so cannot be said to be acting on behalf of Ambazonians. Public opinion is very, very clear about this. Those who conduct polls can as well go ahead and conduct a poll with this question and bring us the results. Ladies and gentlemen, let's remember the fraud we are dealing with in French Cameroon. There isn't anything that La République du Cameroon has engaged in resolving the conflict that isn't mere window dressing. They have formed commission upon commission, even created a second Supreme Court, a second Supreme Court in Yaounde for common law cases. Do you still hear anything about it? How about the Peace and Reconciliation Commission, led by Peter Mafani Mosonge? How about the decree withdrawing all French judges and procureurs or attorney generals and teachers from Ambazonia? How about them? That was done at the beginning, almost at the beginning of this conflict, a year after. How about the so-called Grand National Dialogue? Let me ask you, if you are an honest person, you will agree with me that none of these initiatives was meant with the intent to actually resolve the conflict. It was all window dressing, meant to placate the international community to think that they were actually or are actually trying to resolve the problem, the crisis. Fellow Ambazonians, let's be candid. La République du Cameroon knows exactly what to do and who to meet with in order to seek a lasting solution to the conflict. La République knows that the solution lies in the diaspora leadership, with whom the Swiss mediators have been talking to for over a year. They know that the leaders in the diaspora hold the key, ladies and gentlemen, to the solution. But La République is playing the divide and rule game so they can keep on telling the international community that they are in factions, they are divided. Each time La République seeks to meet with the real leaders in the diaspora, the mission and intention is either to buy them over, abduct them, or to kill them. That is why you find a group of activists out there who once derided La République du Cameroon now singing her praises and claiming or calling themselves peace ambassadors. Let it be made very, very clear here, ladies and gentlemen, that the interim government totally supports the idea of a ceasefire that the United Nations and other international bodies have called for. We support that. Such a ceasefire, we believe, will create safer access for medical personnel and humanitarian volunteers to our people who are internally displaced in the bushes and desperately need to be tested of the COVID-19 infection. However, ladies and gentlemen, in the absence of La République du Cameroon signing onto the ceasefire declared by the United Nations, with a total dismantling of all her barracks and totally withdrawing her soldiers from all of the territory, that is Ambazonia's. Ambazonia Volunteer Restoration Forces cannot and will not lay down their arms. We reiterate here that since the escalation of the war, Ambazonia Restoration Forces have not crossed borders to attack anybody or institution, not even the army of French Cameroon, on their territory. They have not. Ambazonian fighters have remained on their legitimate territory, defending it against French Cameroon colonization, annexation, aggression, and genocide, and protecting civilians in Ambazonia. It therefore implies that should La République du Cameroon shut down her military or withdraw its military and close down the camps and withdraw all of her soldiers to their territory, there will be a natural laying down of arms by our volunteers, since that we have nobody to fight or to contend with. Let me make this point again very clear to La République du Cameroon authorities and to those who care about this conflict. Ambazonia is now well able to defend herself against this war, even in 20 years, if need be. The volunteer fighters on ground zero started this war with their bare hands, yes. Then they looked for den guns. Then they moved to automatic weapons, machine guns. Then they started manufacturing their own machine guns with capabilities for massive damage to enemy forces and enemy equipment. Now, the war draft is bringing funds that will not only multiply our fighting force and capabilities, but will equally put more sophistication or sophisticated machinery and ability at mass production of the defense machinery into the hands of our volunteer fighters. But above all, ladies and gentlemen, they say experience is the best teacher. Experience is the best teacher. We have studied and are being inspired. We are being inspired by the recent conflicts, like the ones in Liberia, in Sierra Leone, in the Sudans, Palestine, Eritrea, and you can name the rest. We are learning that we can only do better each day this war prolongs, and La République du Cameroon continues to slaughter our families and raze down our towns and our villages. Examples here quoted teach us that if they made it for that long, if these other countries made it for that long, we too can make it, and we will make it. This is what we are looking for, in a lasting solution to the conflict. The interim government with its allies in Ambazonian coalition team remain very, very committed to the Swiss-led mediation, to which La République du Cameroon has promised engagement. The Swiss arrangement should guarantee a guarantor for any agreement reached between the two parties. Any preconditions or talks on talks, as we saw in Yaounde, can only be legitimate if they come from Switzerland. Only decisions, ladies and gentlemen, only decisions taken from such a forum would we be subject to, not promises and exactions from prisoners acting under duress. People that La République du Cameroon abducted under the barrel of the gun, labeled them terrorists, and sentenced some to life imprisonments cannot, ladies and gentlemen, suddenly be the ones that La République du Cameroon want to speak to or have them represent free people in Ambazonia, not at any time. Lest we forget, they cheated us and ran with it in Fumban in 1961. They will not cheat us a second time. We are not too naive to pretend we do not know the game that La République du Cameroon is trying to play here. They are back to their old playbook of divide and rule. Or maybe the right terminology should be divide and conquer. But we are not ignorant of it. And we will resist it with everything, ladies and gentlemen, within our bones. And that is the talking point, that is my monologue. I won't say anything. I will directly get to my guest tonight. I have with me, ladies and gentlemen, a full house. I have with me in Tumfoin, pleasure to have you on the set with me. And Tumfoin Bohebet, permit me to start with you, sir, because I know you are very much active in the AG. However, we are not talking about the position of AG today. The position of AG will come to us in an official statement, but I have no doubt you can articulate what ACT stands for and what this decision in Yaounde means to those of us who are there in ACT. Tumfambo Herbert, good to have you, sir.
Thank you very much, Comrade Chris. My pleasure to be here. My greetings to all the other panelists. My greetings to our people on Ground Zero. My greetings to our people around the world. And my greetings to our people in jail, in the refugee camps. Look, the decision that we now have from La République du Cameroun, their communique, leaves a lot of rotten eggs in the face of a good number of people who believed that they can trust a rogue regime, that they can trust a terrorist gang in power in Yaounde, that they can, act on behalf of the people of Ambazonia. I do not speak on behalf of ACT. I speak on behalf of Ambazonia, which is bigger than ACT and bigger than any group. I speak up as a citizen of Ambazonia in defense of everything Ambazonia. And we say to La République du Cameroun that you will never, ever get the people of Ambazonia again. And we say to our comrades in prison, those whom La République is trying to use as human shields, as human hostages, to try and stage a coup on the internationally supported Swiss-led initiative. They have no way to be negotiating with La République du Cameroon. Do not let La République du Cameroon destroy you. You have paid too high a price, and your people are too close to home for you to go out there and try and sell yourself. Let La République du Cameroon sink on its own, because they are sinking. And let all those who are supporting them continue to try to play those tricks that they are playing. When they go out and say that they're meeting because Thibault Nagy, the US ambassador who is in charge of African affairs, was instructing them to negotiate with Yaounde, it is a barefaced lie. This is the only way the Biya regime operates. And to our colleagues, when you have an echo, when you have a superintendent of prison, when you have an Eli Smith telling you that they speak on behalf of La République du Cameroun, run away. These people have zero credibility. In fact, Mr. Biya himself has zero credibility because, as you said in your monologue, Chris, he does not respect even international agreements, resolutions of the United Nations, and even his own commitments. So, people of Ambazonia, we will make a deal outside La République du Cameroon. It will be based on international law. It will uphold United Nations resolutions, and our job is to get Ambazonia recognized, not deal with a domestic matter.
Into point. But what do you make of the fact that just a few minutes ago, the communication minister for French Cameroon is saying the meeting didn't take place?
Well, what it is saying there is some of us had an opportunity to talk with some of the people in prison, and we are really glad that, you know, that some of them reached out. They tried to get us to understand what is going on. When you are in prison, they can make you do all kinds of things, and we cannot blame our brothers, because if they put a gun to your head, you can even renounce this revolution. If they want to kill you, you could lie to save yourself. So we will understand that. What we do not understand is for them to then indicate that they're doing this out of their free will and that they're engaging the people of Ambazonia. No. Once they step out of that place where they're holding them hostage, the next thing they should tell us is that they held us hostage, dragged us to this place, and because we were intimidated, we made such and such an engagement, but we do not hold the keys to this revolution. And the leadership which has been running the revolution ever since we were abducted, that leadership should be consulted on any matter related to any issue on Ambazonia. They should stand and wait for us who are outside to free them from that prison and bring our people home to Boya.
Is far from reality. What do you think they are trying to run away from? Are they not putting our detainees on the cliff?
I believe that.
To Barrister John now, please. Come back.
Okay, sorry, I didn't realize.
Yes, Chris, I missed the first part of your question, but I got the second part. I am very, very surprised with the Minister of Communications.
The fact that the French Cameroon Minister of Communications has just put out a statement to the effect that what is being reported of the meeting is far from reality. What are they trying to avoid here? And are they not putting our detainees on the pedestal?
Let me tell you what I know is happening, Chris. Among the 170 countries that have signed onto the ceasefire proposed by the United Nations, Cameroon is absent. And they are under pressure to sign on to that document. And with the advice of France, with the advice of their mentor, France, they thought that it was vulnerable to go and get our prisoners to do the job for them, because they are avoiding the interim government that controls this revolution. Now, after they have done it, they are under fire for having taken prisoners to negotiate with. And therefore, I think that is why they are issuing that disclaimer. They are issuing that disclaimer because the international community is scandalized that La Republic, instead of signing on to that ceasefire agreement with the United Nations, will go into prison and take prisoners of war who are chained both hands and feet to negotiate with. And the whole world is scandalized, and for them to ward off the disgrace that they are going through, they issue a statement saying that is far from reality. What then is reality? Our prisoners, and I want to say something here, Chris. Our the Ayuktabe, if he's a leader that he was, he should not issue a communication that the prisoners were invited. You don't invite prisoners. The government does not invite prisoners. They order prisoners to do what they want them to do. How can he say that they were invited? To do what? How can a captured soldier, a captured commander, be put under pressure to come and talk, even if he's going to talk in the church of the Catholic Church, in the bishop's house of the Catholic Church? It doesn't make a difference. And you claim that you were invited. That is what the world is crying about. And La Republic is now coming today with a communique to say.
Barrister John, I think every one of us can understand the desperation for every one of those behind bars to regain their freedom. I think many people will behave the way they are behaving. They think that they are in the position to contribute. So I really don't quarrel them. I really don't quarrel them for what the decision they took. However, we are saying they are not in the legitimate position to have taken those decisions. I think they would have said to La Republique du Cameroon, talk to our leaders who are out there, whatever they agree, we will agree with them. I think that is all that they needed to say. But listen, let me turn to others. We have a big panel here. Let me turn to these barristers here. Barrister Tuma Sang and Valentine, I would like you to chip in. What do you think is going on behind the scenes here with La Republique du Cameroon?
Barrister Tuma Sang, I'll let you go first.
Okay. The first thing I will mention is the war with Boko Haram started before the war with Ambazonia. If the UN is asking for universal ceasefires because of COVID-19, why don't they start with having a ceasefire with Boko Haram before they come to Ambazonia? Was the UN talking for Ambazonia all alone? Is the war they are fighting with Boko Haram any less important? Why concentrate on us? That is the first thing I'm saying. Secondly, I read the communique from the Minister Sadi. It never said the meeting never took place. It said the boss in social media that on the 2nd of July, they held a negotiation meeting with prisoners awaiting trial. A meeting might have held, but they are arguing it's not a negotiation, and they didn't hold it with prisoners awaiting trial. Since they could have been tried already. So they frame the thing in a way for possible deniability. They can always argue themselves out of that document. The third thing is the meeting did hold. Today, Seseko reached out to me. I had a long discussion with Seseko. He explained what he's doing, what the conditions and all that. I cannot tell you what exactly he told me because of lawyer-client confidentiality issues. But I gave him the amount of legal advice I could give him. I gave him the position on ceasefire and what the implications are. I made it clear that the international community is only interested on us, not because of our sovereignty, not because we are subjugated, not because we are annexed. They are concentrating on us now because people are fighting. We've lost almost 10,000 people. Give a ceasefire today without a modicum of achievement, without even the pre-1972 status. the international community before long will forget about you. And you want to start the war again, they'll look at you as the aggressor. So never give any ceasefire without the conditions minimum, which would be to get our parliament back, to control our education, to control our legal system, and all the things that were there prior to 1972. That is the situations where we get a ceasefire, and then now we go now to the substantive issue of sovereignty. Because even if we don't get the sovereignty, we've already got that one. People cannot fight. They die 10,000. They hold guns, and you tell them to put their guns down. We are fighting because of sovereignty. Show me one thing we've achieved for sovereignty. How can you talk of a ceasefire? If you put Akwanka gave a ceasefire for 14 days. Has he cancelled it today? If you give a ceasefire for 3 or 4 months, what makes you think you will ever cancel a ceasefire? It might be. So before we give a ceasefire, we should have minimum requirements, minimum achievements. Give back our parliament. When you cancelled our parliament, our institutions, you never asked the UN. So give it back without asking the UN. Once you give those minimum conditions which were existing before 1972, I give you a ceasefire. We go into negotiations and we on the sovereignty issue. Alternatively, you don't give me anything. We go to negotiations without preconditions, and I can then table these things now as preliminary measures, or what they call interim measures in law. So that is the position I have. But to say that meeting didn't happen, my discussions with Seseko today, detailed discussions, I gave him the legal advice I could give. The meeting did happen, and there were 4 conditions. He gave me the conditions. I looked at them. I gave the legal advice I could give.
Yes,
So I don't believe.
Barrister, did you relate to Sisiko popular opinion out here as to those 4 conditions they reached with French Cameroon? And if so, what did you tell him?
Secretary Chris, you know, when you talk to somebody, you are a barrister talking to somebody, there's always this confidentiality. I'm a bit worried about what to tell and what not to tell. You know, it's a fine line to draw. But I did explain the situations to him in so much detail, and we went into details. I'm afraid to, because I might breach confidentiality by going into details. I had the meeting, discussions with him. He reached out to me. We discussed, we exchanged, we chatted for long on the issues, one after the other. He even gave me the conditions whether I can fine tune them. So people, the meeting did happen. I'm not going to come here and lie that there was no meeting.
We know the meeting happened. Sisiko would not put out a statement if there was no meeting. Actually, we know who was in the meeting. So I think the Republic is just trying to save face with the commotion out here to the fact that they are trying to force prisoners to, force negotiate with prisoners. I think that's what they are trying to run away from. But let me turn to Barrister Ghana. What do you think, sir?
You know, just like Barrister Tumasang said, the rights of people who are in captivity are very limited. So whatever talks might have been held between those in captivity and LRC, those talks amount to very limited consequences. Let me give you an example. During the Second World War, Jews that were killed during the Holocaust, some of them who had been arrested and held in concentration camps, some of the Nazi troops held meetings with them and forced them to relinquish their assets. All of those discussions were made null and void, because as Mandela said, people in captivity cannot negotiate freedom. What is happening with La République, if you observe, is that La République du Cameroun is afraid of its own shadow. The conspiracy between La République du Cameroun and France is ticking against La République du Cameroun. The ferment is getting more fermented, and the stench of France's conspiracy against Ambazonia is becoming so odious that even French perfume cannot cover the stench. I mean, this is a throwback right to Fumban, conspiracy against the Southern Cameroons, meeting with our representatives and not having an agreement, but pretending like they had an agreement. You move forward to 1972, where you have a supposed referendum where the choices are between we and yes. So the conspiracy has been consistent towards undermining Ambazonia. But we live in a different age where Ambazonians are more educated, Ambazonians are internationally traveled, Ambazonians are learned, Ambazonians are sophisticated. As you rightly pointed, Ambazonians have a fighting force on the ground that our draft is beginning to show how lethal we are. And La République du Cameroon is still trying to live in its old mold of lies, conspiracy to steal away Ambazonia's sovereignty. And so when they go hold a meeting with a bunch of captives that they have, and I tip my hat to those in jail because they opted to fight for our freedom and were captured. So when they go hold a meeting, they themselves cannot accept the truth of having met those captives. And when you live in stench, as La République du Cameroon has lived in, denial, lies can be your only instrument. La République du Cameroon is refusing to sign the UN ceasefire provision. It is running away from anything that shines light on its annexation of Ambazonia. La République du Cameroon refused to be a signatory to the ICJ. But La République du Cameroon forgets that it's a signatory to the African Constitutive Act 4B. It is a signatory to the Bakassi judgment that asked both Nigeria and Cameroon to pull back to their pre-independence boundaries, or the boundaries they obtained at independence, which La République's date is January 1st, 1960. So La République du Cameroon is having a dysfunctional personality. They declared a war that they thought they were going to be able to execute and crush Ambazonia in 3 weeks. It's over 3 years. Our guys are still fighting. So what is happening? What the confused Rene Sadi is manifesting is a confused personality of a dysfunctional LRC, and an LRC that does not know how to get out of the stench that it has created by annexing Ambazonia since 1961.
The only lady on the set come in with her opinion on this, Dr. Emma Olsong. Tell us what you think of what is playing out in Yaounde. What do you make out of this? There was a meeting, the leaders, the detainees say, and then La Republic comes out and say it wasn't really what it is being put out there. What do you think is going on within the circles of French Cameroon, Dr. Emma?
Thank you, Chris, for having me again on the show, and welcome to my co-panelists, Bear and Freedom Fighters. I don't know if you can hear me clearly, Chris. Let me check my sound.
Your voice is a little tiny there, but I can hear you 5 on 5.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I have a rather soft voice. I'll try to speak as clearly as I can. First of all, let me say a big thank you to our brothers, husbands, uncles, cousins, nephews, and sisters who are defending our families at home. We have you in prayers. We will always keep you in prayers. Let me send out also prayers to our brothers and sisters in their thousands who have been held without any due process for simply rising up to fight for what everybody should be able to fight for without persecution. Chris, let me stop and ask if I'm echoing, because I could hear myself.
Okay, go. Why you do?
Am I echoing?
Yes, you are echoing. You are echoing. Maybe you want to check that.
Okay.
While you check that, let me bring in Abdul Karim.
Secretary Chris.
Hello.
There is silence. Were you asking Comrade Abdul Karim to say something?
Yeah, Abdul Karim can talk.
Lost
seems
him
to be
there.
disconnected.
Let's just patiently wait for him to get back. It seems as if he lost connectivity.
That's what I
Yeah,
think.
but in the interim, Abdul Karim, if he has something to say, he can say it while we wait. Seems Abdul is not even here.
I can hear.
Comrade,
My concern is
okay.
TV. So
Okay.
let's just wait for Secretary Chris, please.
Okay.
And so I think one of you senior comrades who've been talking may just continue articulating while he comes.
Yeah. Well, let me do this. In the hope that our people back at home are connected and that this feed continues to go live, let me sit in here for Chris Anu. I hope he comes back. He joins us momentarily. And just in case you're hearing us, I'll be delighted to just sit through and see how we run this. But I think Chris was asking you to come in there, Abdul Karim. He wanted you to chip in on these issues with respect to La République du Cameroun denying holding any talks.
I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I think my microphone was off. I hope you can hear me now.
We can hear you 5 on 5.
Yes,
All
we can
right.
hear you.
I thought it was Abdul's microphone that was off. I didn't realize it was mine. But let me pose this question to both of you, Ntumfoin and Abdul. Again, one of the contentions that we have out here is that the people in detention, the people who don't have their liberty, do not have any mandate to go out and broker whether talks or pre-talks with anybody. When you have act that is made up of most of the leaders of this struggle out here. I would like you to comment on that. Tumfoin.
I will let Abdul Karim go first. I've already had the floor. I will follow him. Abdul Karim?
Abdul, go on, please.
I cannot hear him.
We cannot hear him.
Yeah, Abdul, your mic is sort of
Go
mute.
on now. Go on, Abdul. You are on now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
All right. I praise God and I ask him to send his blessings and mercy upon his messengers to the suffering people of Southern Cameroon. And I want to say that I'm more than elated being amongst this fine gentlemen here and our mother, Dr. Osong. By the way, Southern Cameroonians, I'll let this out of the bag. I think some days ago I told you there's a lady behind some diplomatic statements you've been hearing from the international world. This is that lady. Permit me say that. So may God bless her. Yeah, this is it's a critical time for all of us, and I just want to start by saying that X have no business playing amid stones. I'll unpack the statements, but I'll repeat it again. X have no business playing with stones. Coming to the question you're asking, Secretary Chris, but before then, I'd like to interject on what Barrister Tumazan said. Barrister Tumazan, with due respect, the leadership in jail or any comrade in jail have no right whatsoever to initiate any ceasefire or to start negotiation. They have right to their opinions. I do agree. I've been there. I've been asked questions. I had right to say what I could say. But that is not the position of the people who are outside. It hasn't happened anywhere. I've heard those very weak arguments about Mandela negotiating from jail. It has not happened. This is Joe. This is so ahistoric. And I want to say that when you go and advise Sisiku that the minimum he has to tell them for ceasefire is pre-92 situation between us and La République du Cameroon, this is not a good advice, sir. This is not why we are dying. We are not dying because we want a pre-92 situation here. I just hope you correct that as we proceed. That is not the case. He should not even engage in ceasefire. Not at all. The 4 points he made are well in order as an opinion. But the advice I gave to Sisiko, which I'll still say it here clearly, I want to say that eternal vigilance is the price for freedom or liberty. Eternal vigilance. We must be extremely vigilant. We have comrades out here in the diaspora and back there in ground zero, looking out for those in the jail and fighting for both their release and the liberation of the territory of Southern Cameroons. These are the only people that can negotiate for you. There is no one else. And by the way, we have a constitution of Southern Cameroons in a body called ACTS that was carefully designed, and they are working tirelessly, sleeplessly to make sure that whatever process is out here should be followed with proper negotiation. So I think it is only making sense that Sisiko can answer all of these questions if they ask him or propose what he has to propose, but always remind them that this is my opinion. If you really want business with us, it has to be with the people outside. I'm sure this is the fair advice simply that we should give anybody. What I've heard so far, especially from yesterday that this thing came out, very shambolic and obnoxious statements. On the one hand, the people in jail really have little to be blamed on them. What I see that flabbergasts me even more is the surrogacy on the outside. People who would prefer that our leaders, quote unquote, talk in chains with the oppressor in a dark room in a case. And Comrade Bo, if you remember, I told you yesterday that whatever that thing is Sisiku's word against the word of La Republique. And I told you that they have plausible deniability and they may refuse that something like that happened. This is exactly what has transpired today. They've done it. We have comrades who support that and oppose to be with their own comrades who are looking forward to build up a process that will bring us on the negotiation table. And people clap at these things. Look, Southern Cameroonians, we are playing, but we should beware of a door that has many keys. That is a very dangerous door. So ACT stands for Southern Cameroons, stands for the liberation, stands for an open negotiation with a mediated party. Anything within the confines of La République du Cameroon is under duress. And I still understand that we have Yannick Sikot, who is an outright traitor. That guy suffering, permit me use the word, suffering from deficiency of vocabulary. We have Nicolas Santos, outright traitor, so Foncha. We have even Barrister Bala, who I would term an enabler, all of them hailing Sisiku. And then we have comrades who claim to be restorationists, clapping alongside these traitors. What sense does it make, for crying out loud? Does it mean Sisiku them and Co did something bad? In my opinion, no. I understand they will be pushed to go and have these meetings. But my problem is whatever statements they make should always end with, this is just our opinion. If you want business, the leadership is outside. Okay. For many reasons that we don't need to belabor here.
Okay, thank you. Because you mentioned, you referred to the advice that Barrister Thomasan gave to Sisiko. I would like him to respond to. I will give him, Barrister Thomasan, 50 seconds, please, if you want to respond to that. Thank you.
There is nothing to respond. What am I responding to? I gave him the advice. I've told you, I'm not telling you the advice. How do you know? He's commenting on advice. I've not even explained what the advice is. In Bafut, we had one old man who was very good at treating mad people. They would take mad people, go to hospitals in Yaounde, go to Douala, go to Bamenda. When they fail, they carry the madmen and bring to Payama, and Payama will cure them. So if La Republique carries his madness and takes it to Kondegi prison, if he can solve it, they're fine. If he tries to solve that, he failed. Payama is waiting in Bafut. They will end up with a patient bring to Payama. Payama doesn't sit and cry that why have you not brought a madman to me? The rightful person will end up having the patient. Why you people worry yourself? If they can solve the problem, then let them solve it. If the problem is to be solved outside, to be solved outside. I sit as a stone and wait. I know that the problem will not be solved in there. But it doesn't mean you should not advise the people in there. Be careful with this, be careful with this.
Don't
My
you
advice
realize, don't you
is
realize, Barrister, if you allow them to solve their problems there, as you suggest, there is absolutely no guarantor to the suggestions, resolutions coming out from that table?
Chris, they can never solve that problem there. It's a waste of time. They can never
To hear.
solve. They bring the madman to Payama because they fail in all the hospitals. Most of the time, they don't first bring to him. They first try those hospitals, they fail, they carry and come to Bafo. So Payama doesn't complain. He sits and wait, knowing they are wasting their time. You cannot, prisoners don't enter into contracts. You can only go there to get their opinion on the way forward. And then you give people agree the way forward, you go and meet the people outside and solve the problem. You cannot solve it in jail. I don't need to waste my time explaining all that. And I still repeat, and I will repeat, if we ever give a ceasefire without attaching conditions to that ceasefire, the international community, when there's peace, they will start ignoring us. When we went to Lord Every long time ago in this struggle, before Abdul Karim them and the rest have been in this struggle for 30 years, they ever came in. Lord Every told us that everybody knows we have been annexed and colonized. Everybody knows our problem. But in Africa, if a place is peaceful, nobody in the international community wants to go and rock the boat. Go back there and change the dynamics on the ground, and the world will come knocking at your door. We have changed the dynamics. They come and knock at the door. And then you want us to give a peacefire without achieving anything? On the sovereignty issue, on our status, what have we achieved? If we are giving a ceasefire, let's even achieve halfway, and then we start fighting for the sovereignty issue. Once we get the sovereignty down,
Let me turn to Dr. Omar Osong, Emma Osong. I hope her microphone is okay at this time. Doctor, before you came on, we had a short, brief discussion, and you were very concerned that people who do not have their liberties should even think of going to make some suggestions of a ceasefire when they really don't have the authority, when there is a constituted body out here that can speak for the rest of Amazonia. Can you
You broke up, Chris.
That microphone.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Yes,
you.
we can hear you.
Very well. I'm not sure I heard the question very clearly, but let me begin. I think I heard part of it about some statements that are not my statements, but they are statements that are out there in the general discourse that's going on right now. Before my microphone went off, I wanted to share with our audience that we need to baseline certain things here. First of all, La République is the master at whitewashing. As human rights atrocity crimes are piling up, they are a master at creating diversion, creating ever increasing convenient histories to back up what they are doing so they cannot face international scrutiny. Let's get that clear. So they are, as we speak, engaged in high stakes game to sow the seeds of discord, and unfortunately, our side is falling hook, line, and sinker. Let me say three things to our audience to keep in view and for us to consider for the rest of our communications here. La République wants to internalize the problem, polarize the discourse, and bifurcate. What do I mean by that? Prisoners have no choice, as your panelists and barristers have already pointed out. Who comes for them at midnight and take them into discussions? So let's be clear. Our prisoners are brothers who were abducted from Nigeria, blindfolded and thrown in jail incommunicado, sentenced to life imprisonment, were now again abducted because they had no say into where, when, what agenda, who goes along with them on their delegation, to a meeting that they have no opinion about the agenda or the content or the discussions, and we're asked to engage in some kind of discussions, pre-talks, or whatever else we're doing, to again, for La Republique to poison the water, bifurcate, and internalize the problem. As the international community mounts pressure for La Republique to come to the table and once and for all discuss and dialogue on the problem, the root causes without preconditions, what does La Republique do? They create a whitewashed this, action to divert the international community's attention so that we, instead of keeping our eyes, as they say, keep your eyes on the main thing, keep the main thing in focus. What has happened? We have fallen again for La Republique's old tricks to embroil ourselves in vitriol in one camp against another, arguing ab nauseum whether negotiations are taking place in La Republique. If you believe that the framework for all talks have already been advanced by the international community, backed again recently by the UN Security Council, and that framework simply says the government of Cameroon shall dialogue with the separatists, however they call them, without preconditions addressing the root causes. Unless you do not believe that this is the sound, correct, right, and true framework, then you are either with the unionists, the federalists, the enablers, and the detractors. Because if you do believe in that framework, you will join ACT, Team Amazonia, to put maximum pressure so that La Republique cannot create its diversionary tactics in Yaounde, subjecting our brothers who are their captives to turn around and offer them conditions for your captive to consider for discussions that you had no input into with a delegation you don't. And let me conclude here this short piece by saying that as a mother and a woman, we bear the brunt of all the wars that men create. And that while the social media activists, the camps here and there are busy giving aid and comfort to the enemy to continue to slaughter us, women and children are suffering. And that unless we come together and understand that we must be keeping our eyes on the main focus here, which is to get La Republique to dialogue without preconditions addressing the root causes. If you don't believe that, then you will stay out of the process, insisting on conditions to be met. Meanwhile, we would have been on the table addressing the root causes. Finally, there are those out there who believe that if I have a bird in my hand, I should release it in the hopes that they will produce for me too in the bushes. I want to appeal to my brothers out there because for the most part, they are my brothers, that if they can bring a better process for getting to a negotiated, peaceful final solution, please do so. Don't advocate only because you don't like what you see, thereby missing the opportunity to take whatever you can get from the best you have at hand for something that doesn't yet exist. The international community, however we define it, UN, AU, EU, United States, United Kingdom, plus the entire world and our friends, whether it's Canada, whether it's civil society, have all gotten together, my brothers and sisters, and said, what is wrong with these people that they refuse to create the modicum of cohesion, collaboration, vision and some sense that they understand what it means to go from war to peace. You do not achieve peace simply because you have 10,000 followers who do not even first know what they want. It is for us women. I'm appealing to the women out there. Get behind your husband's friends, brothers, and uncles. They are causing wars around the world, and we bear the brunt. And we will not stand by while you of children who have nothing to live up for. We have the potential in Amazonia. We have the potential. We have the friends in the international community who have heard a cry for the first time that the United States heard our case last year. Ladies and gentlemen, think about this for 1 minute. Is the exact date that the division amongst us started.
All
Doesn't
right,
that
all
tell
right.
something?
Thank you for that. I would like to ask all of you, this question. I have spoken to a number of diplomats in Yaounde since yesterday, and what I heard from them was, it's a good start. It's a good start. They encourage that. And then at the home front, you hear people like Paul Anya and Agbo Bala and the rest praising the initiative entered into by the detainees in prison. I will start with Barrister John. Barrister John,
Yes.
is that something that should really be encouraged? What should the leadership of this interim government and the ARC team, Ambazonia coalition team, what should they be saying to Ambazonia that is wrong? I mean, I want this point very well articulated so that every Ambazonia understands why that position, that decision, that action in Yaounde is opposed. I would like all of you to articulate that. But as John, I'll start with you, sir.
Yes. To answer your question, Chris, in one sentence, we should be telling our people that a negotiated procedure for negotiated settlement has begun in Switzerland, and we have no other choice. There is no other fora where a negotiation is taking place. And we should be telling our people that our leaders were captured and imprisoned, and they have chains in their hands and feet, and therefore they cannot talk on behalf of we, the free Ambazonians. Like my dear colleague, Barrister Thomas said, he knows that we are aware that no negotiations can come out of prison. So we should let our people know that. Secondly, I'd like to visit the communique of the minister this morning. I saw it this morning. I believe that after all the reaction from Paul Aya and from Agubala and all the other people that I don't want to comment about, the minister is telling the world that no such it's not as real. It was not a reality that meeting held, even though we know that the meeting held. Why is he saying that? Because the procedure itself, by going to prison and taking people that you have imprisoned and hiding and taking it to the bishop's house, doesn't sit well in any kind of diplomatic negotiations. Therefore, La Republique, in its usual manner, trying to play with the international community to deceive the international community, would not want them to know that really took place. That is the way I read that communique. And secondly, I want all of us to know that La Republique also is preparing to join the Act Amazonia in Switzerland. And they are very much confused because first, they don't have a clear leadership now, and secondly, they don't know what to do because they have not signed onto the ceasefire proposed by the United Nations. It's the only country that has not signed on. And the reason why they have not signed on is because they want to continue with that war. And if they sign on, and we not being a state party, and they commit, they commit and another killing on our people, the international community will blame them for violating the ceasefire. And they are now in a catch-22 and shopping left and right how to come out of it. And they think that they can use our brothers and sisters, our brothers who are in prison, to help them. It's not going to work. They have failed again, and the minister has put an end to whatever speculation the international committee may have that they have held talks with the prisoners. That is the way I read it, Chris.
Okay, let me turn to Barrister Ghana. Please, what would you tell Ambazonians, most especially on ground zero, the grounds on which to oppose anything coming from detainees and French Cameroon officials?
I would say we should not get too worked up about any meeting that is held between the detainees and the deceitful government of La République du Cameroon, because some of those meetings or contacts or communiques that have been issued are meant to trick us into unnecessary infighting and distract us from the goal. We have the draft that is going on. We have our fighters that are fighting on the ground, thanks to them. We have a lot of positive things that are happening, and we need to focus on those positive things. As Barrister Tumasan gave the allegory of Pai Yama, who people take the mad person to all other hospitals until they finally come back to the Pai Yama. Let me wrap that into an adage. Human beings always become wise when they have exhausted all other options. La République will exhaust all other irrelevant options, and it will finally get to the table. Remember, our legitimacy is enshrined in UN Resolution 1608. And UN Resolution 1608, paragraph 5, asks for us, the Southern Cameroons, to get into negotiations with La République du Cameroon for us to decide what the future of any union that we might choose to have is going to be. That discussion has not taken place. There is no treaty of union between Ambazonia and La République du Cameroon.
Yeah,
the discussion between La République du
Cameroon. I'm sorry. I needed you to stay on the message what Ambazonians should know as the reasons why most of us, I would say the overwhelming majority of us in the diaspora, oppose any kind of agreement that is reached between detainees and officials of French Cameroon.
We should not be worked up about opposing whatever agreement is being reached, because whatever agreement they reach with the detainees is not going to imply on Ambazonia. Ambazonians have already constituted the Ambazonian Coalition Team Act, ready, as Dr. Emma Osong said, to meet in an international forum that has already been prescribed by the UN and other significant countries around the world, the US, Canada, and others. So we should not be worked up about the gimmicks that La République du Cameroon is trying to play. As Barrister Tumasang said again, Pai Yama is waiting. La République du Cameroon will eventually come to the table. What we should inform Ambazonians, both on ground zero and in the diaspora, is that we should not subscribe to the distractions of La République and then become unnecessarily partisan and engage in unnecessary vitriol about who is pro Seseko and who is pro Dr. Sako. We should not be getting involved in all of those things. we should know that we have the fighting force on the ground, we have the draft going on, we have the act that has agglomerated the various liberation movements to create a framework for negotiation, and we should not subscribe or get easily distracted by the gimmicks of La République.
All right, let me turn to Abdul. Abdul, you are much respected on Ground Zero. Tell Ground Zero why any agreement coming out of French Cameroon with detainees is null and void.
Oh yeah, thank you once more for the opportunity, Chris. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I've been in those jails and I know what it means. But definitely, this is a liberation struggle. We're talking about sovereignty, and we have the representation of the people outside. Even if we didn't have, nobody from within the confines of La République du Cameroon can make any decision that we can trust. We should remember, Ground Zero, that we have had a lot of agreements with La République du Cameroon outside jails. But since there was no guarantor, they were their own guarantors. They have never respected a single one of them. Yet they still, what they do is they arrest us, they torture us while they are talking with Sisiko. Them the same night they are invading southern Cameroon and killing people. So there is not a single chance we can consider. We cannot consider anything that would come from that. But at the same time, my advice is that insulting Sisiko or other prisoners will not get us sovereignty. Insulting Dr. Sako wouldn't get us that. Insulting Dr. Akwanga wouldn't do same. Insulting Dr. Ayaba or anyone would not do that. We have come to a situation where we have a dichotomy of Southern Cameroonians. You see one group tends to clap when they think their own group is winning, and the other does the same. We don't want that. Let not groups win. Let reason lead us. Let truth be our guide. But the truth now is that Sisiko is not in any place, size, shape, or form to make a single decision pertaining the sovereignty from behind the bars. This is why I want to applaud Patasang. That is the stance people should take. And that is why Patasang is the reason La République sent out that document. The only reason they sent out that document is because of Patasang's explicit articulation on that paper. That is what they call plausible deniability. It's a technical document. They are not saying that they didn't meet. They are simply saying that what they hear on what people are hearing on social media doesn't represent whatever meeting they had. Because the big game here that France is trying to play, there is only one game to all of this. Stay away from an international table. La République du Cameroon and enablers, federalists, all of these people, know that we have beaten them from a distance on any debate. They don't want that. They want to control it within themselves and tell the international community that, oh, look, we are talking with a face of the liberation struggle here, quote unquote. We are talking with them. So you see, it's an internal issue, as we told you, and they are rallying federalists behind it. And we have nationalists outside supporting this, supporting federalists against nationalists. I don't get it. There's a group called the Coalition for Dialogue, which constitutes federalists. They had a meeting yesterday, constituting federalists, insulting us. We have Southern Cameroonian talking with the coalition team, supporting them, clapping for them, but they will not listen to act. This is one thing I've tried to understand. I cannot understand till this moment. So please, Southern Cameroonians, we have to reason. It is important to know that when a word goes out of your mouth, or consider your mouth to be a cage, there is no whistle that can call it back. When a word goes out of your mouth, no whistle can bring back that word. And I'll repeat this again, X have no business playing with stones. In my opinion, you cannot catch a fish unless the fish is in a place of a water which is not deep. You cannot get that fish in deep waters. Our prisoners must, our comrades who are in prison must recognize that Southern Cameroons have put La République in the middle of the ocean. They are deep there and they cannot catch us. When they talk with them and do not refer them back to the free Southern Cameroonians who should negotiate with them, they are bringing us back to the seashore where La République can grab us. That cannot happen, but I'm saying that is what they are doing. They roll us back when that they do. And again, I want to make it clear that I don't find anything wrong with the 4 point Sisiku and co made, but I'm advising that by extension, they should always say that whatever we are telling you here is a conversation between you and I. It's our point of view, but not the position of Southern Cameroonians. And you see Southern Cameroonians who are supposed to be journalists, learned people, go out, negotiation has started in jail, there is consultation. That isn't a consultation.
Yeah, that
That
was really
position.
ridiculous. I thought that was very, very ridiculous for people who claim to be
And
journalists
let me finish this,
putting out.
Chris. Let me finish this. That isn't a negotiation in any shape, size, or form. Neither is ACT negotiating right now in Switzerland. What ACT is important to clarify this negotiation is a process of discussion where an agreement could be reached. ACT is trying to put together Southern Cameroons for that negotiation. The members of ACT today would not necessarily be negotiating for Southern Cameroons. Switzerland has been charged to bring these two parties together. And I'm telling Southern Cameroonians again, until Switzerland backs out, no other mediator is coming up. And La République du Cameroon will show up on that table. And they are trying to run away. Just by simple common sense, dear Southern Cameroonians who fight Southern Cameroonians, insult one another, you prefer to align with federalists instead of nationalists. I'm asking you this question. Will it not have been surprising to you if La République ran first to Switzerland? Doesn't it mean something to you that they are doing their best to stay away from Switzerland? Think about this. And basically, to both Ground Zero and Diaspora, please, insulting leaders would not give us anything. As a matter of fact, there is only one thing here. We don't have a victor between nationalists, neither do we have a loser. We all as nationalists will win or we will fail. There is no two things. So there is no need clapping when it looks like your team is winning. Let your team be run.
All right.
And let Chris be your guide.
Thank you. Ntumfoin, tell Ambazonians again, especially on Ground Zero, why anything out of Yaounde is null and void as far as a lasting solution to this conflict is concerned.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want us to waste the opportunity of putting blame where we should put blame. We make too many excuses for things that we should not have excuses for. And so we miss the opportunity to direct our people as to what they should do. Now, let me be clear about what I mean. Number one, Deacon Tassang is in that prison. He had the lucidity, he had the discernment to know that this is not the right thing to do. When leaders do the wrong thing, they apologize for doing the wrong thing and they back down. They don't stick it to people. They don't tell people I am right and these conditions were okay. No. You back down, you tell people you apologize for what you have done because you have done wrong by the people of Ambazonia. Not only have you done wrong today, but before you embrace the domestic dialogue of La République du Cameroun, or was it a consultation, you have been remarked for not endorsing the internationally supported mediation under the Swiss. So that is a message you have sent to the people of Ambazonia, that you are now lining up with Agbobala, being applauded by federalists, being applauded by francophones. This is what we have wanted. Being applauded by people who are traitors, as Abdul Karim was pointing out a moment ago. When you find yourself in that team, there should not be an excuse for you. There should be an apology that you owe the people of Ambazonia. And the people of Ambazonia should hold you to account. When you are a leader abroad in the diaspora, someone like Choayaba, and I don't want to insult anybody, he's a great leader. He can deliver great speeches. He inspires a lot of people. But when you don't have something to offer, you don't have something to offer, full stop. And when you don't have a mediation process, don't sell the Norwegians coming on white horses because they are not coming. Bring the people of Ambazonia to the only existing negotiation that is out there. To La République du Cameroun, the people of Ambazonia understand why La République du Cameroun finds itself where they find themselves. While they have denounced the fact that there are no negotiations with Siseko, they have never denounced the fact that they have committed to the Swiss-led process. So it's very clear where there is a negotiation and where they cannot pull out. So don't get fooled by people who are telling you either side can win. No. There is only one possible winning solution for Ambazonia. You will not obtain independence from La République du Cameroon because they themselves don't have independence and they have nothing to offer you. The French have not granted them independence yet. And speaking about the French are coaching them, coaching La République du Cameroon, not to sign on to any ceasefire. This is what the French did in Algeria. If you read the Algerian history, the French refused to acknowledge that there was a war going on because, according to French logic, Algeria was part of their country. So they were just fighting, armed gangs. That is why La République is not on that list of signatures. Now, there is total embarrassment in Yaounde because they know that the government of the United States supports the Swiss-led process. And these buffoons who don't even know how to deal with anything, who can go on television and say that they are working for the FBI when they're hired by a genocidal government, when these buffoons start saying that Thibault Nagy is directing the negotiations, then they find themselves in diplomatic hot water. And then they start recanting everything. People of Ambazonia, there is one correct thing that's happening in this struggle. You are signing up to a war draft. You are committing in the face of the international community that you will have freedom and independence or you will take death in exchange. You are doing the right thing. You who are defending our people on the ground, you are doing the right thing. If you have not joined Ambazonia yet, join now. Because the people of Ambazonia are not reversing. And don't give any excuses to anybody who refuses to align with the right path. And that includes the Catholic Church, which served as a host for this event. The Catholic Church should get out of politics unless they want to get into politics and do the right thing, because Christ did not defend falsehood. The Catholic Church, stop doing what you are doing. It's valid for the Catholic Church in Ambazonia. It's valid for the Catholic Church in La République du Cameroon. It's valid for the Pope, who should be the first to be denouncing this genocide. Please, people of Ambazonia, there's one process that you should back, there's one war you should back, and there's one nation you should stand with. Don't be like those of us who thought we can support Frundi because we thought he was right. No. When a leader is wrong, you get behind him. That's what I did. I left someone like Frundi. And I used to report also for Mr. Paul Biya. I traveled with him once on a state visit to France. He is a useless leader. He calls himself a people president of the French. Let the French instruct him to come to Switzerland where he will meet the people of Ambazonia. Let's debate this matter and free our people from bondage.
Thank you, Bo. I mean, no one could have put it better. Let me get to Barrister Tumasang. I know he's been waiting for a while now. Barrister Tumasang, you are also very, very articulate. Tell Ambazonians as a lawyer, as a barrister, why anything rich in Yaounde is a no-go, because it doesn't guarantee us freedom, independence for Ambazonia.
Chris, I will give you an example. There was a very high-profile journalist in the UK called Jill Dando. She was killed. The Scotland Yard got totally lost, didn't know how to solve the case until they had to go back to prison to consult on top killers who are in prison. That a case like this type of kind of thing, can it be done by was it a professional, just a layman? What is so they consulted all the top killers in the prisons in the UK just to get an idea how they could try to advance this case to try and solve it. So to consult somebody who is in prison, I have no problem with it. But a problem with prisoners entering into a contract. If a prisoner, you cannot stop somebody, anybody can always sign any paper in prison, but that paper is of no value. Legally is null and void. But there is something, the law, which they say that later ratification is equal to express command. So if somebody the paper in prison, his signature is there, it's a useless paper. But if we take that paper, some of us outside, and the paper is good enough, then we ratify that paper, it's equal to an express command. It was done in prison, it's useless by law, but yes, we looked at it, What they say is good. We have now ratified it. The power from that document is coming from the ratification of us outside, not because of them. So them in prison, let them do what they want and this thing, but their document is got very little value. Second point I would like to make is, for me, I'm totally against a ceasefire being discussed in isolation. A ceasefire has to be discussed with comprehensive interim measures to be taken. That's when we silence our guns. I have prepared 18 points to be discussed together with a ceasefire as interim measures in any mediation. Nobody has even thought or gone to the level of doing that kind of work. Chris, I sent you a copy. I sent Boo Herbert a copy. That this ceasefire, you cannot just isolate ceasefire. Now the Republic is standing on our neck. We cannot breathe. For we to even give a ceasefire, we should breathe by controlling our education, at least controlling our legal system, have our parliament, while we are still discussing the sovereignty issue. I cannot just give them in ceasefire for free. After 10,000 people have died, I just silence my gun because you free prisoners or because of some those four measures.
Barrister, we have said, I mean, the interim government has said there is no reason why the question of a ceasefire should even arise. The reason being that we're not fighting across the Mongo or across Matazam. We are in our territory defending our people from the aggression of French Cameroon. If there was to be any ceasefire, I thought it is on French Cameroon to pull out, because when they pull out, we have nobody to fight with, to contend with in our territory. So the ceasefire doesn't even arise.
I accept what you're saying, but therefore you are attaching the condition of withdrawal together with the ceasefire. Now, Republic wants a ceasefire where they just sit in their camps in our villages and the rest and say we have a ceasefire. The ceasefire must be accompanied by withdrawal of their military, withdrawal of their administrators, and so ceasefire cannot be discussed in isolation. That is where I feel like dying. You don't give 10,000 people.
And that is why a negotiation in the presence of a guarantor is very necessary, isn't it?
Yes, that's why I put them as interim measures in mediation. This mediation, I've always supported the sweet process. But if you saw my last write-up, I'm now talking of Canada and the rest because the Republic is banned from coming from Europe. This ban might take a year, 2 years. Therefore, we cannot have any Swiss mediation. So we have to open ourselves and start thinking of Canada and other places. These guys cannot come to Europe. How can you have Swiss? This ban, if it takes 5 years, I don't know when COVID would end. So how do you have a Swiss process? So we have to start, we have to be more, I'm kilometers ahead of other people. I see some of these things. That's why in my writing, I started opening up the possibility of Canada, America, and the rest because of this ban. If this ban takes 2 years, 3 years, the Swiss process will wait all that long.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we will move to a similar topic here. Most of you must have read the statement out there by former U.S. Ambassador Cohen, suggesting that it's been a long time, 60 years, to go back to independence or a federal Cameroon where you have East and West Cameroon, as was the case from the beginning. He is saying that the best thing to do is just have every region or province, as they call it, to be on its own. I'd like you to tell Ambazonians what is wrong. But before you get there, I'd like to tell Ambassador Cohen that, how about Canada? The Canadians have metamorphosed, the population has grown, the dynamics in Canada has changed, but there is still Quebec and mainland Canada. Why can't that be the case in Africa with Ambazonia and Cameroon? But I will let you panelists answer that question. Barrister, so I will start with you, sir. No, let me start with Barrister. Valentine has been waiting for a while. Let me start with him.
What and thank you, comrade. What Ambassador Cohen said is dead on arrival. It is like somebody coming and raiding your house and stealing your china, and then you go to court And then in the resolution of the case, as a remedy, the judge wants the case to end with that person keeping the china, with that person keeping the stolen good. Our sovereignty was stolen away from us. A remedy of the situation has to be the return of our sovereignty and La République du Cameroon pulling its forces totally out of Ambazonia. The solution has to be the independence of Ambazonia and Ambazonia regaining its sovereignty. What Ambassador Cohen is saying is not consistent with international law, and it is inconsistent with the resolution of other conflicts. Britain occupied Ireland for about 300 years. The resolution of that conflict after a bloody fight between the English and the IRA was not Britain retaining Ireland as it had. The conflict that Ambassador Cohen referred to between Eritrea and Ethiopia, it ended with Eritrea having its rightful independence. How can Ambassador Cohen adjudicate over that conflict and it end with the independence of Eritrea and then come to Ambazonia, who already had an independent status before 1961. Ambazonia, which already had a self-government before 1961. Ambazonia, the first country in Africa to have an elected government and to have that government switch from ruling party to opposition. How can you take a country that already had an independent status in international law, consistent with UN resolutions 1514 and 1608, and say that we should remain as two provinces of Cameroon? So what Ambassador Cohen is saying is DOA, dead on arrival. It is a non-starter in the discussions or the negotiations between La République du Cameroon and Ambazonia. And just to note one other thing, in the Bakassi agreement, La République du Cameroon already agreed to pull back to its borders on January 1st, 1960. The United Nations has already come to Ambazonia and or to that area and built international borders between Ambazonia and La République du Cameroon, demonstrating that Ambazonia is a buffer state between La République du Cameroon and Nigeria. Ambassador Cohen cannot backpedal on all of that to now say that we should become provinces in La République du Cameroon. As in the case of Eritrea, as in the case of East Timor, as in the case of Namibia, we will end up being an independent, where we are already an independent country from La République du Cameroon. We will end up regaining our sovereignty that is being violated in a genocidal way by La République du Cameroon, being aided overtly by France. So Ambassador Cohen's statement is dead on arrival.
Thank you. Dr. Osong, your views on the Ambassador Cohen's position on resolving this conflict, please.
Yes. Before I go to Ambassador Cohen, permit me respond to something I understood earlier that my co-panelist, Barrister Thomason, said about the COVID pandemic and getting to a negotiated settlement. As we speak, there are peace agreements occurring. There are meetings between belligerents occurring. So I think it's we need to clarify the air that the COVID pandemic has not stopped not only international bodies or nation states or business to go on as almost usual. So there is something called webinars that can be held if people are committed to meeting. And also, just to remind people that when the question on the table is as delicate as ours is, there are all kinds of channels that can be used to continue to keep the process alive and engaged. The problem is not that there is COVID and La République cannot get to Switzerland. The problem is La République does not want to get to Switzerland. Let's be clear about that, and don't confuse our already beleaguered, polarized people to think that La Republique's inability to look squarely and face us is because there's a pandemic. Let me also add that there is what is called an economy in this war, and La Republique is the beneficiary. They would like the COVID pandemic to stay on for as long as it can because they are being funded by their donors. Their debt is being reduced or forgiven. And in case people are just not clear, how is it just possible that Cameroon is the highest COVID case on that part of the continent in Africa? Go figure. Now, back to Ambassador Cohen. There is something to be said when a diplomat, a retired ambassador of great repute and caliber, goes around and shifts his position almost as often as the wind changes direction. I am completely befuddled, guys, that the ambassador cannot keep a central theme on where he comes down when it comes to the war, the genocidal war on our families at home. That he continuously changes whether it's where our case is so solid, we are entitled to the rights of sovereignty as we rightfully have them through our independence, or he kind of forgets that the reason for the domination is because of our resources and claims we are so impoverished. This is the same litany that was offered to the rest of the world in subjugating us, that the British did, in saying that we were so impoverished and independent former British prosperity would be a burden on the Queen's purse. So I am here to tell you that the ambassador, Right Honorable retired ambassador, appears to be on a shopping spree, and I'm not sure ambassadors want to buy it. If there are those who want to, let him please stick with one position so we are clear where he is. Finally, Chris, you spoke on something that I want to seize this opportunity in case I don't have it to respond.
Okay, 50 seconds. We are very time conscious. Go ahead,
Yes.
50 seconds, please.
Right. So those at home who are praising that there were negotiations happening with captives by their captors in Cameroon and telling the world that they are happy about it, happen just to have forgotten that they are the ones who pushed for something called the Grand National Dialogue, for which they ended up being rewarded with statues special. And they went in asking again their captor, His Excellency Paul Biya, President for Life, otherwise known as a president, to give them something. Meanwhile, they ended up with something less than what they thought they were going into. As long as there are some in our midst who believe that La Republique has something to give them, I am here to tell you, Mr. Anu, that they continue to get less because they are indeed second class.
Sound.
Comrade Chris, we can't hear you.
We cannot hear you, Chris. We cannot hear you, Chris.
Comrade Chris. Comrade Chris.
Chris, we cannot hear you.
Microphone disconnected.
Chris.
Oh, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't know I was talking to myself. Yes, Barrister John, I was just saying that let's be time conscious. We have just about 20 minutes to go, and I'd like to take one or two phone calls before we round up. But let me give you the chance. I will come to you, Bo, and the rest to give your opinion on the Cohen infiltrations here. So, Barrister John, please go on.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are missing the point here. But Ambassador Cohen is working for some people, and he is shopping around looking for a solution to present to those people. He's working for the Federalists and the center and the people and the centralists, whatever you call them in Yaounde. I don't know. This is a man who started by doing very well when he negotiated Eritrea and others. After retirement, instead of serving his retirement peacefully, he dabbles into something that he wants to earn money like all Americans, and he doesn't know where to earn the money. Look, our brothers, black people in the United States, were taken as slaves for 400 years. And when they rose up in the 1960s for the civil rights movement, they were before that time. Abraham Lincoln had freed them. It took several years. It took hundreds of years. Is Cohen saying that because it has taken 60 years for La Republic to keep us as second-class citizens and like a conquered territory, we should forget about it because in 60 years he is looking for, he's shopping for some work. I don't know whether he has the work already, but he seems to be leaning towards the federalists, and I don't have much to talk about him. I think Ambassador Cohen is irrelevant at this point in our revolution. We should just forget about him and move forward.
Thank you for making it precise. Let me get to Intumfoin, please give us your opinion on what you see Cohen doing out there. I have no doubt he's trying to get a job for French Cameroon as a mediator, and unfortunately we have some of our people out there thinking that he is the best thing that has happened to this revolution, whereas he's absolutely not. He is not saying all that he is saying because he loves Ambazonia. He was there as an ambassador when French Cameroon invaded invaded Ambazonia. So give us your opinion on what he is saying out there, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Secretary Chris. Before I just answer that, let me say something to Barrister Tumasan with respect to the Swiss-led process and whether things happen in Switzerland or not. This is a Swiss-led process. It does not mean that meetings must hold in Switzerland. That
Correct.
issue has been raised before by Chuayaba. It's just a false issue because we could hold the meetings no matter where. We could hold them at a secret venue in a different country. We may not even meet in the same venue. It doesn't matter. But the process is led by Switzerland. That's the key part. The second thing here is Ambassador Cohen is not shopping for a job. Ambassador Cohen is working full-time for La République du Cameroun. He was working for Ahidjo in 1972 when he was sitting at State Department desk for Cameroon at Foggy Bottom and decided in 1972 that he did not know what Ahidjo was doing. He was probably paid at that time. I don't know for a fact, but his behavior today leads me to believe that he was probably paid. If he was not, we know who he is walking around with the Nebafontaines and the others, and we know where they stand. So Ambassador Cohen, who famously asked for $30,000 a month from Ambazonia, and we did not have the money to give him, has now found probably $100,000 a month from La République du Cameroon, which can steal the money from Ambazonia and pass it on. After all, they have no pain, no suffering. So La République doesn't care. They can pass the money to him, and they're probably effectively passing the money to him. Ambassador Cohen is worse than that because what he has demonstrated is that he's not only a colonialist, someone who does not respect the right of other people, other nationals, to take decisions about their nationality all on their own. He's probably a racist as well, because he will not say the same thing about the people of the United States. For how long were the people of the United States under Britain? Where was he when time came to argue the case that the United States should not split from Britain? He should have been, he should make the case even now. If it is valid for Ambazonia, it should be valid for the United States. Why has he not made the case for the U.S. territories of Guam, American Samoa, Puerto Rico, to be integrated forcefully, for the Marines to invade Puerto Rico and force the people of Puerto Rico to become the 51st or the 52nd state of the United States, to be united, one and indivisible? Why do the people of Puerto Rico still have a right to go out there and articulate their right to independence? Well, if he knows a little bit about history, Puerto Rico became part of the United States the same way La République, claimed to have taken possession of Amazonia. And the UN resolution, which the Honorable Ambassador may want to go and read, 1541, does not give any provision for any country to absorb another country. I would recall to him that the United States was called to order by the United Nations when they thought they could just swallow up Puerto Rico. He can read that up. It's available, it's history.
All right, thank you, Ntumfoin. Let me quickly get to let me get to Abdul. Abdul, please come in there with your points on this write-up by Ambassador Cohen.
Oh yeah, let me thank Dr. Immaculate and Pablo for clearing the air regarding meetings with the Swiss process. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, let me call him Mr. Cohen. Mr. Cohen is immaterial and irrelevant when it comes to the liberation struggle of Southern Cameroonians. But sometimes when we focus on the snake, we forget the scorpion. This guy has the audacity to be repeating his inconsistencies almost every day because we have people who claim to be nationalists fanning him. But by the way, my dear comrades, if Cohen has taken your money, he has duped you because he would not work. And I want to continue by wishing Mr. Cohen happy 4th July. He enjoyed his Independence Day 2 days ago. And perhaps you could go now to the grave of George Washington, rest his soul, and tell him that you made a mistake. No, in 1776, you would have allowed the United States to be part of London, or to federate with London, or to be like Canada is with London. He wouldn't do that because he would be killed by George Washington. Now, let it be clear to those who perhaps may not understand. Federation was killed and buried on the 17th of January 2017. When Baladen were arrested, that thing Federation died with that arrest. We are not going back to that subject. This is why, when it comes to negotiations, it is Southern Cameroon versus La République du Cameroon. Any federalist or unionist would have to join La République and debate us. We are not discussing this, and Secretary Chris, don't waste our time with Ambassador Cohen. He knows the definition of self-determination. He comes from a liberal society, a society that runs under the philosophy of liberalism. If he wants to debate that, he should meet us on a platform where we can talk. He shouldn't be throwing tweets that our own comrades will run with. That is where he has this audacity. You know that when you don't have enemies inside your house, all the enemies outside are useless and powerless. I would have spoken a lot about this, but I would like also have calls from Ground Zero in particular. Let's not talk about immateriality and irrelevance. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Let me quickly get to Barrister Valentine and Martin to give us their input on this, and then we'll take again 1 or 2 calls from Ground Zero before we call it a day. Barrister Valentine, please, your turn.
Yeah, like I said, if I've been reading Ambassador Cohen's successive tweets, successive comments, and he goes to assert that we had a federation in up to 1972 that went wrong, and then he is coming to suggest a 10-state federation. How is a 10-state federation in any way, shape, or form similar to the federation we had, to the seeming federation we had in 1972, which was just a trick by RC and France? It is not going to work. RC itself has never wanted to federate with Amazonia. On April 21st, 1961, at the General Assembly at the UN, La République du Cameroon itself voted against Resolution 1608 that prescribed that we work out a modality to live in association with La République du Cameroon, defining something as a confederation. LRC itself voted against that. So LRC has never wanted to federate with us. And again, like I said, any idea of a federation is dead on Arrival. Look at the case with USSR that went and annexed Latvia, Lithuania, Ukraine, Georgia, Kazakhstan. When the people rose up demanding their freedom that had been deprived under Stalin, they got their freedom in 1991. Why should Ambazonia be prescribed the bitter and unpalatable pill of having to federate with people who do not want to federate with us? We are an independent country. Our sovereignty is being violated, and Ambassador Cohen will get that. And as you guys have rightly said, whatever 33 pieces of silver has been served to him, it's not going to work. His ideas are DOA, dead on arrival.
Thank you. Thank you. Barrister Tumasang, please, a minute.
I think Ambassador Cohen is an old man flip-flopping, looking for the highest bidder for his services, to be honest. I've read his tweets and I don't know where he's coming from. He talks about us being with La Republic for 60 years. What he is talking in international law, they call it historical consolidation, that the two territories have been for some time, so now they have to, title has changed and they have to be together. Nigeria in the ICG tried to use that argument on Bakassi, but the International Court of Justice said that one, historical consideration is a concept that is not well established in international law. Two, even if it was well established, 50 years is too short to establish historical consolidation. If he's talking that the territories were like 300, 400 years, maybe the court could have even understood. So for him to be talking of historical consolidation of the two territories for 60 years, it's zero in international law. I don't know who's advising him in law before he comes up with those concepts. The second concept is we are Southern Cameroonians are a people. We've been defined by the court in Banjul in Communication 266/2003. United Nations in all correspondence at the time of Foncha around 1961 has always referred to us as the people of Southern Cameroon. So as a people, we have an inalienable right to self-determination. That right is inalienable and exercisable as many times as we want. That's why Quebec is having more than one referenda. That's why Scotland is talking of another referendum. So even if in 1961 we exercise our rights and say we want to federate with La Republic du Cameroon, we don't lose the right as a people. It's inalienable. Today in 2020, we can still exercise that right and say, as of today, we don't want any association with La Republic du Cameroon. There is no right. La Republic du Cameroon is our eastern neighbor. He is our neighbor like Equatorial Guinea is our neighbor based on the island of Bioko in the maritime border. He is our neighbor like Nigeria. If La Republic is presenting a proposal for us to federate, therefore Equatorial Guinea as our neighbor can put their own on the table. Nigeria can put their own. I see no extra right by La Republic. If they want to come, let them put their proposal on the table. If another neighbor, Equatorial Guinea, bring the same proposal, I will look at both, I will reject both of them. I see nothing special about La Republic, just our neighbor.
Okay, okay. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I wish we had much more time to go on and on, but I can assure you we will still continue with this discussion in the coming days. Before I go, I would like to open the phone lines for a few minutes for especially those on ground zero who may have a question or two or an opinion to share. Before you call, if you are calling and watching from your television, make sure that you turn down the volume of your set. Please turn down the volume of your set before you call, because I won't have the time to wait for you to run around and turn down the volume of your set when you call. So please turn down the volume of your set. And for those of you with a phone number, which I know is everywhere, go ahead and you can call right now. I think I got a caller on the line already. Okay. Hello, ma'am.
Yes, Secretary Chris, can you hear me?
I can hear you 5 on 5, ma'am.
I want to thank our esteemed panelists for such a brilliant show. I especially send special greetings to my sister, Dr. Osang. As a mother...
Why not only how you to call? You know, see all these men?
Well, she is special. She is special. As a mother, as a
Okay.
wife, as an Amazonian who is pained by this carnage on our people on a daily basis, especially our children, who are the future of our nation. I, Patience Abiedu, representing mothers and women, I want to ask Sesoko Ayuk Tabe to please put Ambazonia ahead of everything else and support President Sako to bring this war to an end. I'm sending him a special challenge. I'm sure he's going to get this message. The special challenge is for him to send a tweet out, just like he tweeted about the meeting with La Republique, to send a tweet out that he, Sesoko, is behind Sako and wants this war to come to an end and supports the Swiss mediated process. Because without this collaboration, we continue killing our children. So please, please, this is a cry that this war has to come to an end. And this challenge is to Sisoko Ayuk Tabe. Thank you, Secretary Chris.
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you for the call. I just hope that they are listening to us from their rooms in Kondenge, because I know that they all watch this. They're all watching ABC there, and I really believe that Sisiko Ayuk can make things really, really easy for this struggle by saying, hey, you know what? You want to discuss? Meet my brothers out there and discuss with them. Uh, they represent me. They represent every one of us behind bars. I think that will be the greatest thing that happens to this struggle. Thank you again for calling. Let me get the next caller here. Okay. Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello.
Secretary Chris?
Yes, sir. May I know where you are calling in from, please?
Wesley from New Hampshire.
Oh, Wesley. Tico, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good to hear your voice. What is your contribution or any question?
I think that we should not spend so much time trying to blame Ambassador Cohen for whatever he suggested. The future of the Southern Cameroons can be determined only by us.
That's a very good
not
point.
by an outside entity. The entities may suggest whatever they want, but at the end of the day, it is us who are going to decide what the Southern Cameroons want to be. If I could remember, not long ago, Abdul Karim Ali did mention that what is important is that we get hold of Boya. Whatever way we get to Boya is irrelevant, but we have to get to Boya. So it is irrelevant for we to spend so much time trying to blame Ambassador Cohen, who is only an opinion leader. Whether he has gotten money from the Republic or not is irrelevant. The decisions of Boya, how we get there, will be determined by us. And I don't know, I just joined this program a few minutes ago. I don't know what the meaning of divide and rule as far as Southern Cameroon's program is cause is concerned regarding the how we get to Boya. So I don't know if somebody can able to explain a little bit what they were referring to by divide and rule, as I saw on the screen, as far as Southern Cameroon case is concerned.
Well, thank
And
you.
I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We were referring to the plot by French Cameroon to hold discussions or negotiations with the leaders in J, knowing surely well that the leaders in J do not have the mandate to agree on anything with that country. Thanks for the call. Let me get the next caller. Hello, sir. Hello.
Hello, to Chris.
Yes, may I know where you're calling in from, please?
I'm calling from Switzerland. I just want to thank you for the great panel that we've got today. But I have a question for each of them. What would they tell Ayuk Tabe if he would call any of them and say he has been invited in a meeting like the last one, what would they tell him? Because I think Ayub Tabe has got a very good example to follow. Patasan is his example. If he doesn't want to follow Patasan, I will advise us to forget about Ayuk. He is irrelevant, just as Cohen, just like any other person who does not stand for independence. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I will let the panelists 50 seconds each, please. Let me start with Ntufoni.
Well, Siseko Ayuk Tabe is in jail or has been sentenced for life in jail. His comrades who are not interim president were sentenced also for life in jail. So we get the same penalty. Let's share the same burden. Let's show the same humility. Let's consult each other. And let's know that we are, and Ambazonia is bigger than all of us, no matter who we are. Let's line up behind what leadership we have. We may not like it. We don't have to. We have to line up in the best interest of Ambazonia.
Thank you. Abdul.
Yeah, I think that the questioner made a very good call. But by the way, let me go back to one of our mothers who called.
50 seconds,
This
please.
thing is very simple, what Madame Patience said. All Sisiko needs to do for God, friends, and for the people of Southern Cameroons to stop all of this insult of our women, killing of our children, all the incarceration and murder. All Sisiko needs to do for La Republique to appear on the table the next day and end this war is to throw his support behind the leadership outside. That is simple. I would do it 1,000 times over. And I want to say, Sisiko, if you did that, a hair on your head is not going to fall, but God is going to bless you. And whatever it is that has come out of you as respect would be restored to you. This is so simple what this woman said, and that is the only thing I can tell Sisiko. And I can again say that may God bless Patasan for his, what do you call, I don't know, his magnanimity. That is humility, and that is putting people before you. And we are Christians, are we not? I'm a Christian by definition, that I follow Christ. This man gave his life for you, Christians. If he wanted, he could disappear. He could kill the entire Roman army and save himself. He gave his life. Interpret the meaning of giving that life. Sisiko, you can simply give whatever pride that there is now behind the people who held the revolution when you were out there for 15 months, behind the people who still hold it. You can do that and end all this pain. My mom is sick right now. I cannot go and see her because they would incarcerate me some more or kill me. All of this because this thing is lengthening. God has shown us favor. He has given us what it took people 30 years, 50 years to get. God gave us in 3 years. We are holding it. La Republique is not in Switzerland, sir, Barrister Tumazang, not because of anything, but because of Southern Cameroonians. They would have been there on their knees already. Thank you.
Over to you, Secretary Chris.
He's lost.
Maybe muted again.
Dr. Awesome, 50 seconds. Yes, I was muted again.
50 seconds for so much weighty issues, Secretary Chris. The caller, first of all, nobody is irrelevant. Let me repeat again. Not a single Ambazonia in captive or free is irrelevant. Let's just be clear about that. And to my sister who called, she hit the nail on the head. We as mothers, we carry the burden of this war. You, the men who started the war, need to lay down your big egos. Get together, collaborate. Hands have been offered. I know this because some of my brothers and sisters who have taken the enormous task to stay committed, focused on what is right with the Swiss-led process, have extended not only their arm, they have extended their bodies, their hearts. And there are still some of our brothers and sisters who have refused to take it because they believe in a different framework. Remember, Secretary Chris, I said, if you believe that the real framework is for us to discuss our issues without preconditions, addressing the fundamentals. We will get to the same conclusion, which is that we will discuss the fundamental, the root causes, and restore and regain our sovereignty. There are too many favorites out there. The surrogacy that my brother Barrister Ghana said here is alive and well, and everybody is re-echoing their favorites. If my brothers in jail, some of them, can only understand that leadership is humility, and good leadership submits to the will of the people, and that while your hands and feet are bound, we know your heart and your head is not. Therefore, you are free to speak, but you realize in your humility, your limitation, and you cry out to your brothers out there to pick up the mantle. Did Tassan not pass it on, or was it consortium or somebody? All these people, when they realize their own vulnerabilities, in their complete humility, they pass the baton. Only free people can help. If Christian Cardinal Toomey, a free person of the faith, could not get from La République anything and ended up with second class, what does someone who La République has considered its captive for life do? While we out free are pressing for his release, because in case there are any fearing out there, there is no talks that can be held without the question of our families wrongfully abducted, wrongfully renditioned, and those dying in jail would not be the first and a primordial discussion. So I want to say that humility and surrogacy, on the one hand, humility would save us, our mothers and our children, and surrogacy is going to kill us and continue to insist that La République persecutes this war on us. And let's not forget, let me just round up, Siseko, some of his wisdom, has already mentioned the Swiss process. His surrogacy, in their hubris, are unwilling to focus on that and are only focused on the divide so that La République can conquer us further.
Thank you. Thank you. Barrister John, please. 50 seconds. Let's try to give
Yes.
you 50 seconds.
Yes, our deacon in prison had said, and I quote him, we should behave as if they are dead.
Yes.
If I was still representing Siseko, I would ask him to listen to our dear sister, Madame Patience Abiado. That is all I'm going to say.
Thank you. Barrister Ghana?
If I was speaking to Siseko, a few things I'll tell you, and I'm going to make it very quick, is that I respect your service that you've given to this struggle. You might have made mistakes in going to the Nera Hotel, but every leader has the opportunity to make a mistake or two here and there. But there's this famous quote that says, when the first button on your shirt is wrongly buttoned, everything is going to be twisted. And the mistake that was made was thinking you could rule from jail and trying to dislodge the rightful government that had been constituted following the constitution of the IG that was laid down. So we keep falling onto this trap by acting against the constitutions that we set. Going back to 1968, when Ahijo sent Esti Muna to come replace Honorable Ngom Bobejua, that was acting against the constitution of the Southern Cameroons. So consistent with that same act, standing against the interim government is standing against the same constitution on which you stood when we supported you. So we thank you for your service, but you could change this and prevent the vitriol that is out there by talking to Dr. Sako and throwing your support behind him. So I'll tell him we thank you for your service, but you can still correct the mistakes that have been made, because you cannot rule from out of jail. And again, I'll give the example of Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela might have been or was the leader of the struggle, but the head of the ANC was Walter. I mean, either it was Walter
Oliver
Sisulu
Tambo.
Oliver Tambo.
yes,
Oliver
Oliver
Tambo.
Tambo, who ruled from, I think it was Norway or Sweden, but he ruled from the diaspora. So Nelson Mandela was the face of the struggle, but the leadership was in the free world. So consistent with that example, you can stand on the head of shoulders that we've already had in this struggle. People like Fondinka, people like Ngom Bobejua, people like Albert Mukong, and do the right thing for the sake of your people.
Okay, thank you. Barrister Tumasang, you may need to adjust your camera a little bit there. Your head is almost cut off on your camera, please.
Sorry. Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
you have already spoken to Sisiko, and if I may go back to the statement that Barrister Valentine made about the vitro that is out here against what they are doing there. Did you get any impression that he is getting this vitro? Please adjust your camera again. Your head is...
Sorry.
So
Am I
when you
okay?
spoke to Sisiko, did you
That's
get the
better.
impression that he gets the vitro that is being referred to out here from the populace?
To be honest, a lot of these people, they have good faith. Whether the environment permits them to exercise that good faith is something else. But we have to look at things in context. I've made a statement, one, that prisoners have the right to be consulted. I gave the example of Gildando case where they went and consulted prisoners in prison. Secondly, prisoners have a voice. There are many countries today where prisoners have votes. If you have a vote to
We
vote
don't
a
have, I
president
don't
or
think
to
we
vote
have
a
any
government,
doubt
therefore
about
you have a
prisoners
right.
having a
But
right.
you don't have that capability to enter into contracts and bind people outside. So if I was advising Siseko sitting here, I would say, okay, try to negotiate and get yourself out of prison to meet your brothers so that you people can go into negotiation, or divert the negotiations to your brothers outside to do it while you are an advisor to them. They come and consult you. But to do negotiations from prison, I don't buy it. I believe it's a compromised situation where the enemy might know what you're doing and all that. So my advice would be that yes, you can try to negotiate, see whether you can come out of the prison and meet your brothers and you people together, do this negotiation, or you direct the negotiation to the guys outside to do it while you are advising here and there as appropriate. That's the way me I look at it.
Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I will only take this call because the caller has been waiting online, as I would have rounded up at this moment. Hello.
Hello, Secretary Chris.
Hello, Prince Jeka. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, sir. I want to say thank you for the live show and all the panelists on board. But I want to make this statement. I think Siseko, as a person in jail, Siseko doesn't have no right on his own, because if Siseko cannot control water, then Siseko cannot control himself. I believe we should be following this revolution based on case of precedence. Whatever happened in the days of Barrister Bobala is still what is about repeating itself as of now. The Republic is just looking for another way to distract our focus and unity which we have. Siseko has no statement, Siseko has no word in jail. If Siseko cannot order a warder to go and get him water, or a warder to open the door of his jail for him to go out into the town of La Republic capital Yaounde freely, then Siseko can never ever do anything on his own. We should know the people we are playing with, this is French, and what they want to do is always to distract us and destroy the unity we have built. If we can remember from our ancestors back in the Eastern Regional House in Imoku, when they walk out as one people within no time, then you understand that La Republic is scared with the unity. If any day Southern Cameroon should be united. Or if you could remember the case of Tapang, which he raised $18,000 within 6 hours, and immediately the consortium was banned, then you understand that La Republic is scared of Amazonian unity. So anytime we are united, you always see distraction comes in. I hope you have not forgotten also about the United Nations security talks which they had, which within no time Siseko could surface from nowhere sending somebody.
That's how the game will always be. Just few hours ago, La Republica has removed a letter saying they did not discuss with Isekwe. They plunged us again into another distraction to lose focus. Please, let's forget about that. La
Okay.
Republic, nobody will want Amazonian from jail. We are focused and we should be focused and we should know this game.
All
I
right.
think we should increase the power of the world draft and keep on fighting.
All right.
Thanks to all the panelists, Mohabet and everybody. I appreciate the unity I see there.
Thank you. Thank you for the call. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming in today. I just really wish we had much more time to go on talking and discussing some of these issues, but time will not permit. But I can promise you that we will come back here. We will come back here. This revolution is only about kicking off with negotiation. So, Tumfo and Bohebet, thank you for coming on, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Comrade Dr. Emma Olson, also thank you for sharing our place. And of course, Barrister Tumasang Martin, it was a pleasure having you again, sir. And of course,
okay, thank you and bye.
Thank you, Barrister Ghana. It's a pleasure having you. Comrade Abdul Karim, are you praying for Ambazonia, or what are you trying to do there? Well, thank you for coming in. And lastly, not the least, the one and only Barrister John Fru. And so again, I really wish we had much more time to talk other things, but I believe we will come back to them. Ladies and gentlemen, all of you watching, it appears that Ground Zero isn't watching because I did not see, except the missed calls, I did not see a call coming from Ground Zero, but we promise you we will rebroadcast this again and again and again. So if La Republic thinks that they
no,
can
Ground Zero is
electricity to not watch this, they make a mistake. We'll bring it back to you a number of times before we give it up. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you again one of these days. May God bless you all. Thank you and good night.
Joy kendene keise uliongoi. President Oroko Cultural Association. Tatambamene Nanje Wasumana. Batuba Oroko. Pembe ikendene keise uliongo. Hey, nani Hillary. Ituka iyo meki masuma uroko. Ituka iyo meki masuma uroko. Maroki damasenje ya medo waro salwi. Besukuru besibe nina imaroke niye. Iya Winifred mende nanje. Ituka iyo meki masuma uroko. Ituka iyo meki masuma uroko. Maroki damasenje ya medo waniro salwi. Besukuru besibe nina imaroke nina besukuru beloko omboka iyasu baleri base ndiye ya meto ise etemika jabakara omamu yango mesa kano abaka ombo ituka ya barufu mamani omamboki basu batata na bakia gimano base oroko baroko uruta gimano base oroko baroko uruta tokwani bana ba uroko tokwani bato ba uroko na mwenyoe Imano base, oroko baroko uruta. Imano base, oroko baroko uruta. Tokwani, banaba uroko Tokwani, bato ba uroko Namwenyoe, iya nango da Margaret, kisoranga joakori. Mama kopa eko sanija oroko, South Korea, tebere mo akominjia. On a rap aussi Joshua Nabangi, Tata, Bere, Morocco, Barocco, South Korea, Babeli, O Germany, Barocco, O Canada, Menyo Masue, O Mongoe, Morocco, Barocco, UK, Babeli, O Belgium, Barocco, O Sweden, Menyo Masue, O Mongoe, Morocco, South Africa, Denmark, Finland, Japan, Britain, Thailand. Tokwaniye, Gomerokoko. Nina rasa sakelo lui ba dokoe. Namwenyoe. Nina rasa sakelo lui na sojae. Dende jabali ya royani ya kende nekeise. Dende jabase se royani ya kende nekeise. Sango elangwe Peter Nanje. Naliomu motwa mulema musangi. Nina rasa sakelo lui na bambenda. Namwenyoe. Nina rasa sakelo lui ba lelie. Dende jabali ya royani ya kende nekeise. Dende jabase se royani ya kende nekeise. Omboka ya oroko. Bahutu basalwi baleli bankoromenti. Etoni kanya bakala jale kwa nangweli ese. Marongi na bebongo bali sumambia ese. Berongi sane bali kwa nangweli ise. Na ituka ingi yosusu. Nekoba oroko bapo bori alitopia makikise. Ongo pembeja papa na mama Nagija ja opase. Ai Menyo imasue Ai Menyo imasue Ngomo no kuleke kumbaka Iya ikenga Ngomo no kuleke kumbaka Iya ikenga Musiki nga kuleke konoko Iya ikenga Musiki nga kuleke konoko Iya ikenga Mesaki nga kuleke sakaka Iya ikenga Mesaki nga kuleke sakaka Iya ikenga Ngweli no kuleke ikwaka Iya ikenga Ngweli no kuleke ikwaka Iya ikenga Kori no kuleke tundaka Iya ikenga Kori no kuleke tundaka Iya ikenga Eyanganga kuleke liaka Iya ikenga Eyanganga kuleke liaka Iya ikenga Nina ekosani jaba oroko Eloko wa Amerika Na omboka yosusu ya bakara Nero boreli nye Ongo pembe jaba papa na mama Anginya ja obase Nanje music production na tokore mapinge Nanje music production na tokore mapinge Tokwani nosake banaba oroko Tokwani nosake musiki mambuka Nanje music production na tokore mapinge Nanje music production na tokore mapinge Tokwani nosake banaba oroko Tokwani nosake musiki mambuka Nanje music production na tokore mapinge Nanje music production na tokore mapinge Tokwani nosake banaba oroko Tokwani nosake musiki mambuka Bale mbajo kuba musiki mambuka Bale muna Gomo beturi Wamotoja mawake Hato kwesa kengomo Eba Gomo beturi Eya sumele Sakakani Eba Odi kome balue Obe kora barombi Oliveja bachanga Nayo Mojakadere o Seke litaka liko minjea Sekeli takali kominjea, ima sekeli takali kominjea, sekeli takali kominjea, ima sekeli takali kominjea, ima sekeli takali kominjea, sekeli takali kominjea, ima sekeli takali kominjea, sekeli takali kominjea, ima sekeli takali kominjea.
Carefully. Chinese are ruling the Chinese land. Japan is ruled by Japanese. England is governed by Englishmen. America is governed by Americans. So Africa must be ruled by Africans. I wanna know who owns the land. We must rule from Cape to Cairo. We must rule our purpose land. I say, we want to know who owns the land. I want to know who owns the land. Aslan, hey, Papa Aslan, Papa Aslan, Papa Aslan. It must be free. Angola want to know who owns the land. Mozambique want to know who owns the land. Namibia want to know who owns the land. I say, Soweto want to know who owns the land. Zimbabwe want to know who owns the land. African freedom fighters want to know who owns the land. Purposely. Alright. Now listen to the history. We've been here since creation. We've been here since creation. What does one know? Since the time of sun and sun. Since the time of moon and stars. Since the time of air and sea. Since the time of men and things. We must run from Cape to Cairo. And then must prove our purpose land. baba